Hi, everybody. Just real quick, I wanted to post a video walking through the steps on the census website that we got into last night. Um, I am now on the census website. You got here, you go to census.gov and you can explore data, go to that main data page, and it gets you to data.census.gov, which is what's up right up here. What we had done, you can search for anything in this box. So if you want to go straight to a specific indicator like median income or something like that, you could search for that here. Where we started, since we knew we wanted to look at those summary tables, all of them start with a DP. And so that's what we put in here to start. So if I DP and click, here pops up those summary tables. If I had put selected, for example, into this bar instead of DP, it would have found all of these because a lot of them have selected in their title. One other thing that we did, go in here, we got a whole bunch of ways to filter this information. Now that I've searched for DP, it's come up with DP tables. The automatic default is to look up information for the United States as a whole. And so if I click on any one of these tables, it's going to show me those results for the United States. But we want to zoom in on a place that you care about and either the county or the state that it's a part of, or maybe you want to look at two cities against one another. So we don't want to look at all of the United States. We want to look at specific locations. And so now that we've got our tables, we also want to make sure we're looking at the right places. Another thing to sort of narrow down what it is that the census is giving you back is limiting the number of years worth of information it's telling you. For now, we're just interested in 2019. And so again, it's just helpful because then there's just less stuff to look at that you have to filter through. I want to point out too, if this isn't showing up, if instead your screen looks like this, there's a small button over here that gives you an idea that you have access to these filters. If you click on that, it pops up this bigger choice. Another thing then we had walked through, we want to tell it which place we want data for. So it's geography, and you can click your way through these to find your city or your county or whatever area it is that you're interested in looking at. You can also type which place you want right here in the search for a filter. So for example, we saw how many municipalities there were across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and sort of filter our way all the way down to Wilkes-Barre, which was in the W's, would be pretty tricky. New York is similar. I'm curious about what's going on in Rochester, New York, where I'm from. And so instead of waiting for all of those thousands of municipalities across New York State to pop up, I can type in here, Rochester City, New York, and it is going to start trying to think of all the things that I mean. And here it is, it pops right up here. And so I can click on that as soon as it's over here. And yep, it has found the right place. That's exactly what Rochester looks like. I know I've got it. Rochester is in Monroe County. And so that's the other place I'm going to compare it to. If I don't want to search through this bar, but I want to use the geographies. So for example, we're going to go geography. Click on geography. Now I'm looking for a county. I want Monroe County, which is in New York State, which is down here. And it is not too many counties in New York, so it's easy enough to scroll down to Monroe. So you can look for places, you can look for indicator, you can look for years, topics, any which way you want. I will say too, over here, speaking of topics, so now, for example, I've got all of these two locations that I care about. I've summarized for my year. I've put DP up here in the main search bar, and here are all my select tables. And so, for example, I can now start scrolling through these. Let me just move this down. But again, here it is, if I want to click back to it, my filters are a choice. The results, this list of tables that I want to look through are all little buttons over here. I have freed you from worrying about margin of error. So if you click that off, you don't even have to look at that because we do not need to worry about that right now. But here is, if you look down the side, this first is housing occupancy table, and it's telling me how many units I have overall in both Monroe County and then in the city of Rochester, which ones are occupied, which ones are vacant, and then they calculate vacancy rates for homeowner units and for rental units here. And so I can just go through and look at sort of the scale of these indicators. I got percentage breakdown. So across Monroe County, 7.6% of housing units are vacant. In Rochester, that's 12.8%. And I can scroll down and look at all these things. I can look at it here. If you want to export this information, in this case, this is information that I, as a human, would like to read. We're going to download tables that we want maps to be able to read. These are the ones that are important for me to be able to read. And so this button right here, the Excel button, is the one to use to bring these off of the website and onto your computer. What's going to download when you're using the Excel button is a table that looks just like what you're looking at on the website. So down along the side, each row is going to be a different indicator, and your columns are going to be your places. And so when I get here, I'm going to hit the Excel button. It's going to download for me, and that's what I'm going to want. Now, as I'm scrolling through here, I'm learning all about what kind of size of housing, bedrooms, how many owners versus renters we have, sort of flip-flop between Monroe County and Rochester. That might be an interesting variable that I want to look at and extract for all of the census tracts in Monroe County to really see how homeownership varies as we go from place to place. Here's information about, plumbing facilities and kitchen facilities. The census has been around for a long time. And so this used to be a really helpful way of getting at what the condition of housing was like, because there were significant numbers of units that didn't have plumbing or kitchens. That's not really the case anymore. So those ones aren't super helpful. You can see how crowded housing units are. Here, this gives me the median value, which looks like it's significantly different. So that may be an interesting one to look at. But again, you can scroll down and see these are all our housing indicators. If I go back to results, I can pick another one. Let's look at social characteristics. Same thing pops up. I can get rid of the margins of error, and I can clear this out so I can look at these, and I can see all sorts of information about Monroe County and how it compares to Rochester. There's households by type, and you see all different breakdowns of what a household looks like, who's there, who the grownups in the household are, whether or not there are children in the household. And again, lots of different social characteristics. Some of these might be interesting to you, some of these might not. Here's one that gets into educational attainment. So it's looking at everybody who's over 25. What was your highest level of education? And sort of how do those breakdowns compare across Monroe County and the city? And so I say that the ones that are interesting to me, I want to look at educational attainment, category like this. So what's your highest level of education? And I want to look at that median value. Say those are only two of them. You guys get to look at three, but I get to look at just two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this bits of information. I've extracted these. I've hit the Excel button. So I have these now that I can look at later. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to leave all of these in place for the moment, because what I first want to do is just start looking for different tables. So here, educational attainment is one that I really liked. I thought that was pretty interesting. So if you click on topics, categories of tables pop up. And so here, mine was an education thing. Educational attainment was an interesting thing. And so now what's going to show me are a bunch of tables that tell me about educational attainment. So here we have all these different choices. Here we go with educational attainment. And so now I've got a table that just tells me who grade level, what the highest level of grade level was for an adult. I'm just going to get rid of this. So now I get all of my educational attainment. And you can see there are a number of them, of tables that get me educational attainment. Some, it breaks it out by race, but here's one that sort of summarizes for me best. Educational attainment for the population that's 25 and over. So, check out this table. It breaks it out in every single way possible We get those that stopped at each grade level. If they got to 12th grade but didn't get a diploma, if they got a regular diploma, if people got a GED, some college, bachelor's degrees, all of this. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get rid of these because now I don't want this data for Rochester and Monroe County. What I'm going to do is download that data for all of the census tracts. So let me get back to the beginning here. For all of the census tracts that are in Monroe County. So that's tracts right here. So we're going back to New York. And I flip past the M's. And I have an assistant here at home. All census tracts within Monroe County is what I want. This table is going to get pretty confusing pretty fast. Click off of this guy. And I had found, here it was, E15003 was this table that I wanted. And so now what you see is census tract 2, 7, all these census tracts are the top of my column. The top of my columns. There is a ton of, Monroe County has dozens and dozens and dozens of census tracts. The table that this is going to provide for me is going to be very difficult for me to read. I'm going to download it. I'm not going to do it in Excel. I'm going to download it. This is going to be a table that's more meaningful for our garbage is being collected. More meaningful for the computer to read than for me. And download it. There. What you will get as it downloads this, it should pop up any second. There it is right here. Is a folder that includes 3 different files. These 2 files are just sort of background information. And so this one is a text file that's going to tell you what all the different column headings mean. This top one is the one that you want. We're going to open it up and it's going to look horrible. All right, this looks terrible. This is a kind of table that we are going to play around with later. You do not have to figure out anything that's going on in this table. The value of this table is mainly for the mapping software to read. We are going to have to do some cleaning up of it, but we're going to save that for a later date. Save this, and this is going to be part of what you turn in for your assignment. But you can see here, so the way this table looks a little bit different, here are census tracts, are the different rows. These different columns are my different variables. So you remember the variable in the educational attainment table were things like adults whose last year of education was 1st grade and 2nd grade and 3rd grade. In here, you can see, so this happens to be the column where the adult stopped with a GED. Here's a column here. They got some college, but less than 1 year. That's the way these tables are organized. And that is going to be a format that's helpful for our maps. We don't need to worry about that at all right now. This can look horrible. You are not meant to be able to read or decipher this table because this is not a format that a human can read. Far easier for us to compare and contrast Rochester and Monroe County. But if I go back to here, so that's what one table would look like. The other thing I thought was really interesting was that median value category. I thought that was pretty interesting. I can, sorry, we're gonna go right here and I want to search for median value. Sometimes this census site is good enough for what you want. This is not a Google search engine, and sometimes it's not. So we'll go back to topics. We don't want education at this time. Value is a housing thing. And we've got financial characteristics. Let's see, we can figure out house value and purchase price. This sounds like it's something we could do. And here's what's gonna, so here we'll close this. We got house value. Let's look for as many things as they could possibly find for me. And here, scroll down a little bit, this is exactly what I want, median value. It's looking at maps. We want it to look at tables. You see, these are just where I was flipping back and forth between maps and tables. And so here, the reason I wanted to look up a variable like this is that this table looks a lot shorter and you haven't done anything wrong. This table is shorter because instead of looking at adults that graduated in first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, all the way up, all we have here is median value. So we can click off margin of error because we don't need to worry about that. But so that's why this table looks much smaller. It's only telling us one thing, the median value. And so we're going to do the same thing, download this one. It's still saved. It's got the census tracts that I care about. And so we'll download this one. Same kind of thing is going to spit out. This should move even faster because it's got that much less information in it. Same thing. These are just backup tables that have more information about the different labels and that kind of thing. Open up this first one. There was my education one. Here is my median value one. Again, it's not like it makes much more sense, but this is a table that's a lot more compact because again, instead of telling me adults graduating or leaving school at a whole bunch of different grade levels, all this is telling me is this one column right here, median value. And this is what the median value looks like across all these different census tracts throughout Monroe County. These tables look very different just because they're reporting different numbers of indicators. And that is totally fine. I'm going to save this. I'm going to save my other one. And again, you don't need to do anything with this. It doesn't look pretty, decipherable. It looks kind of horrible. We're going to come back to this and figure out how you get this into to a level that the map's going to be able to do something with, or that you might even be able to do something with if you wanted to turn it into tables and charts and those kinds of things. But that is not the goal for now. This is the end goal for right now. So if hopefully that is helpful. If people have other questions for me, please, please, please reach out. If you know what you want to look up poverty rates, and yet as in every single way that you try and tell the census website that all you're trying to do is look up poverty rates, it is never giving you the information you want, please email me and we will track it down. Because in some cases, again, this is not a Google search engine, and in some cases, the words the census uses to describe the data that you're actually looking for is just off enough that if you use English, it's not going to translate into census and the search will never come back with the thing that you want. So please do not hesitate to reach out. That is all you need to get to for this assignment, just extracting that information and getting to know the census a little bit. It gets less confusing the more you use it. The first time through is horrible. I will tell you that because I have lived through it. And so all this is designed to do is to get you to bounce back and forth between searching for different geographies, searching for different topic areas, filtering on different levels, extracting information, because there's a ton of information in here. You can see how in some ways it's kind of user-friendly, but in a lot of ways it is an abyss of unknown, which is why if you can get to a point where you know what's in here and you're able to pull it out, that can be really, really powerful because you can have access to information and be able to translate in a way that more and more people get to see. You saw that the article on Carbon County was effectively doing exactly this, going into the census and trying to find the information that, you know, starts to tell the story of that area. Gets to be powerful stuff. So like I said, reach out, watch this video, start and stop it, rewind. Hopefully it's helpful, and I will see you on Wednesday.